Yeah, it's 9 o'clock, so let's start the third online Lean Unplugged event in cooperation between Patagonia and Makoto Flow DJ in Japan. Nice to have you all on the event. Thank you. We just started the recording, so that makes it possible for you to later on review the whole event. Like the last one. The last one was before the summer. We talked about the Gemba walk. We recorded everything, and that's all on the YouTube channel. So if you want to review that and see all the questions and all the slides, it's available over there, and we will send you a link anyway. And so we will do the same with this event. For who is new, my name is Jeroen Verberg. I will be the host of today, and the presentators, DJ and Boudewijn, are here with us. DJ from the other side of the world, from Japan, but I believe now in the Philippines. If I
actually fly home to Japan tonight, so
a real world traveler presenting Lean all over the world. Good. We have the same procedure as last time, which means that we will start with a 20 minutes presentation in which we will talk about Kamishibai. That's the subject of today. So we will do that in one flow. And if you can have the first slide, please. And yes, the next one. Yes. So we're going to do a deep dive into Lean, and this time, it's Kamishibai, or better known as an in-process audit. DJ and Boudewijn will talk about, explain everything about it. Very powerful Lean tool that needs to be implemented on the work floor, on the shop floor. So next slide, please. We do that together. We will, for the new people here in the event, we'll do a short introduction of Patagonia and Makoto Flow in a minute. First, let's look at the program. Yes, please, next slide. First the team. The team is here on the screen. It's Bart, it's DJ, and Boudewijn. This is the Lean team formed, and we are working on all the customers where we come to implement Lean, to do transformations, to get organizations in a leadership situation in their market. So Boudewijn on the left, on the right side here, is an expert in the Gemba core activities. DJ is the transformation and optimization expert. He transforms complete organizations all over the world. And Bart, not present now, but online available, is the flow expert to create a production system with continuous flow. So let's go to the content. A 90-minute session, 20 minutes of presentations. We do that in one run. So I would like to ask you to switch off your microphone for the next 20 minutes. Then DJ and Boudewijn will do the presentation in one run. And then after these 20 minutes, you have all the time and the space and the ideas to ask your questions. So if you have any questions in the meantime, just write them down for yourself. And then after those 20 minutes, you will have the opportunity to ask all your questions. We do that by raising hands. So I will repeat that after 20 minutes. You can raise your electronic hand and then raise your question. Please do not use the chat box. We want unplugged, we want interaction with you. We want to hear all the questions, so we don't use the chat, and we will not answer the questions in the chat box. So let's have a conversation with each other. So, having said that all, let's go to the Kamishibai. Prior to that, a brief introduction of Patagonia. Please, next slide. What we do, you see on the left side, leadership strategy, quality, and Lean implementation to realize transformations, to get market-leading positions of organizations. And DJ will introduce Makoto Flow from Japan. DJ, can I give you the word and invite you to present your part?
Sure. If we could just next slide, please. Yeah, and just click one more time?
Yes.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, we're very similar to what Patagonia does, and that's one of the reasons why we partnered. And I'm proud to say that, you know, we're going on our third year. It's been a great experience working with the team Patagonia. We're not really different, except for that we do offer tours to Japan, and we have a full-fledged coaching program. So other than that, we pretty much do the same things in and out. So, you know, really not that important about the structure of my company. It's more important on the way we collaborate with other people around the world. Yeah. So next slide, please. So today's theme, Kamishibai. Let me just briefly share with you that it's part of a full system called the Daily Shop Floor Management, or DSM, right? And it's true Kaizen means that you're embodying the mindset, the thought behind that mindset, and the words that you use in order to create the right actions that you need in place. So today, when we share this, I want to be able to sort of enlighten you, hopefully, to the value of a simple method to making things better, and that's called Kamishibai, making sure it's being done and your standards are being applied and the environment is better. Yeah, so next. So what does that really mean? When we say daily shop floor management, what we're really talking about is 6 core activities, 6 basic things. And we've already talked about 2 of them, going to see, which was our very first kind of session. Communication cells was one of the second sessions. And now today we're going to focus on area and process audits, or to the Kamishibai type of thing. But just so you know, it's not something that is done by itself. It actually has to be done in accordance with a system, right? Holistically. Okay, thanks. Next slide. So a little history behind Kamishibai. The word kami is actually paper or hair, yeah, in Japanese. And then the other piece to it, you know, where it says shibai, it's more like a movie, a story that's being told. And it originally started out, Kamishibai, as a children's story kind of system. They would go into different parks, into different parts of Japan, pull up, and you would have, you know, a 10 deck cards, and you would share a story about something that happened in history. And so the real purpose behind Kamishibai is that we want to be able to have a system that tells us a story, that tells us how well we're doing something or how well we're not doing something. And typically that story has to be around a very specific topic. Like when you're implementing some sort of optimization, you're really looking at a safety element, a quality element, a cost element, a productivity element, right? And those are the things that you have to have a card for to ensure that it's doing exactly the way things are supposed to be done. So first of all, it's just a simple card system that allows you to understand how your cell, your production entity is working, how well it's working. Next slide, please. So the purpose of Kamishibai is that it creates a level of standardization. You know, we all want this. You know, we all want to make sure that people are following the mechanism the way it's supposed to be done, whether it's cleaning the machine or whether it's, you know, putting something together or whether you're storing stuff. You know, it doesn't matter as long as you do it in a very systematic way. So that's number one, right? So that's why we actually use it. Number 2 is we want to be able to audit the process, not the person, but the actual process of what we do in order to improve it. And so a lot of times we use Kamishibai as a training mechanism to help people align and then and learn and then apply, right? And then the third thing is we want to keep it simple. So simplicity is the key. We don't want to make it too complex so that people will run away from it. You know, I don't know about you all, but from my experience, I've gone into factories and shops and asked, hey, where's your SOP? And it's in this binder and it's going to be about that thick, you know, it's going to be huge. But when you actually go through the flow chart or the activities that are outlined in the binder, that's not how things are done on a daily basis. And that's where things get skewed. So even though you might be an ISO 9000, 14000, whatever certified, because you have it, doesn't mean that's the way work is being done. So this allows us to simply align people and the standards so that people are actually doing the activities the way it's designed. Yeah. Next slide, please. So how does it really work? Well, first of all, if you don't have leader standard work, this is probably not going to be that effective for you. So it's a part of an entire system, right? So going to Gemba means that you got to organize your time to go there, right? Communication cells, always talking about, people, performance, and continuous improvement needs time. So it has to be associated to one of those type of activities. So it's not a standalone type of thing. But basically the way we hope people will apply this is that they get all the leaders in the organization involved, from the shop floor, bottom shop floor, all the way up to the head management. Now, everybody does it at different sequences, different times, but they're all involved. And the key here is that you're checking one or more of the processes or the sequence of activities that are out there. That's typical. Now, when you do that, you cannot do this in a way that you typically would go to the Gemba. I go there every day at 9 o'clock and I walk the entire plant. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is you pull a card, it tells you where specifically to go in the system to look at something very tangible, to see how it's really working, okay? So you follow the instructions on the card, you walk through it. If everything is good, one side of the card is green, the other side is red. If everything's good, put the green card in it. If something is bad or not in compliance, right, non-conformities, then you turn it around and make it red. And that indicates quickly to that leader of the area, oh, somebody came here, looked at something, and somebody saw something wrong. What we call that is a concern. It's not necessarily something bad. It's just we're concerned about something. We don't know what caused it. We don't know if we can even fix it. But at least we've seen it and we said it's not working the way it's supposed to. Yeah. And when, we're going to be having a tour at the end of this month here in Japan, when you go there, you're going to be able to see all hundreds of these boards all over Toyota, right? But more importantly, how it's used is the impact and the efficiency of the value that it creates. So next slide, please. So as you can see here, up and down, every team member does standard work. Whether you're doing customization work or whether you're doing, very, very standardized things. For example, if you work at McDonald's, you make a burger a very specific way. So every team member is always doing their own standard work, and they're doing their own checks inside the process to make sure it's done right. It's just part of the system. Now, what the team leader does is the team leader has time to go look at the 5 or 8 people that are working for him or her, and they look at the process of what they're doing. So they're getting involved with the team members as they're doing the process, yeah? Whereas the group leaders, the ones that are above the team leader, well, they're getting involved with the team leaders. So they have 5 to 8 team leaders that they're overseeing. And they want to make sure that each one of those 5 or 8 areas are operating the way it's supposed to, whether it's a zone or whether it's a line or a cell. Doesn't really matter. It's just the whole point is they want to make sure it's operating the way we've agreed to. And then, of course, as you go up higher, they're getting involved with the group leaders and then, the area managers and the directors and supervisors. So however your system is structured, basically in a nutshell, a line leader does a check. Somebody else checks on those line leaders. Somebody else checks on those supervisors of those line leaders. And that's what it's all designed to do. And here's a great example of just one. Now, notice that I'm using something very simple, PPE, right? Personal protective equipment. So in other words, are you wearing it right? So it's asking you questions. It's telling you what shift you're going to be on. It's telling you what job you're looking at to make sure that they're applying that PPE correctly. Now, you can be more detailed than what you see on the screen. That's fine, yeah? But the point is you only want to see one thing. You only want to look at one thing. You don't want to go there and say, I'm going to look at PPE, then I'm going to go look at, how they're doing quality, then I'm going to go look at, it's too overwhelming. You should have a single card for a single topic. And that's where I see most companies go astray. They try to put too much on their one card, yeah? So very important. Now, you'll also notice that the top is green on one side and back is red. It says exactly the same things on both sides. There's no difference. The only difference is when you put it into the slot, green means everything's worked out okay, and red means there's an add number, right? Next slide, please. So here's a great Kamishibai kind of board, and the actual design that you should sort of apply. You'll notice that there's a shift 1 and a shift 2, and you'll notice that they have green, 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 and then a red, right, in shift 1. That just means that during that shift, they found something. No setup tooling, right? Now, these other things here, not sent to regrind, add visual standards, those came afterwards. That's when the team leader investigated no setup tooling. They didn't notice it. It wasn't there. It was supposed to have been there for that particular machine when they were doing a changeover. So this card probably had to do with a changeover, right? So now they've gone in, the team leader says, okay, we will make sure that in the regrinding process that we have a setup tool. Yeah. And then we're going to use a visual standard to show them where that is. Okay. Simple as that. So 3 C's stand for concern, cause, and countermeasure. Yeah. That's what the 3 C's stand for. But you can read on the left-hand side, if everything's good, you just put the card in and you check it, no problem. On the right-hand side, boom, do the same thing. Now, at the end of the shift, at the end of the day, everything that's on that board is captured into a logbook of some kind to make sure that you're still following through with it, because the cards don't change. You keep the cards for somewhere up to 30 to 60 days, and then you come in with a new card, some other kind of different cards, some other things that you've been implementing. So every time you do something, you're using the card as your standard to check on it. Yeah. Next slide, please. So in a very simple way of closing and how to get this thing really started, we'll first begin with checks of some standards on 3 basic things. Yeah. Either safety, either quality, or some sort of equipment utilization, right? So it's being done right. That's very important. Second thing is connect it to your daily leader standard work. So from 8 o'clock in the morning to, let's say, 4 o'clock before you go home, you're going to go and do 2 Kamishibai audits. You just know exactly what time you're going to go do it because you put that in your leader standard work for that day. And it could change. Doesn't have to be, 9 o'clock is this and 10 o'clock is that. It could go at 11 o'clock. It could go at 3 o'clock. Doesn't really matter as long as you're doing the check the way the card is designed. Yeah. And then, of course, carry it out. Carry it out faithfully, religiously, so that people know that you're not looking at them, you're looking at the process. And that's so important. One of the things that we talked about, myself and Baldwin last time going to Gemba, was showing that respect. And people don't want to be looked over the back. So the card system says, hey, I'm here to check number 6 step in this process, and that's all I'm looking at, right? Everything else is going well because that's how the system is done. So some key points: faithfully do it, make sure you take immediate action when you can, and of course, do it on a very frequent, continuous basis. So you're creating that credibility in yourself and as being a leader, as well as in looking at the process and helping the people. Because once you go to the Gemba and you learn how to use these Kamishibai cards, going to the Gemba becomes even easier for people to open up their minds and ideas on how to make things even better. And it allows you to look at just what's been done to make sure that it's being done correctly all the time. Yeah. Next slide, please.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, DJ, for telling your story. I want to conclude our presentation with a short journey on an implementation of Kamishibai, which I did at one of my clients. As you can see, we first started, before implementing, setting some boundaries. So I made a few drawings, as you can see, of 2 Kamishibai cards, the red and the green. You can see the back and the front. On the left from that, you see a drawing of a control board explaining how to use it, with a countermeasure sheet on the right. And then at the most right, you see a picture of the sketch, which I made. It's a sketch of the technical department, the department for which we started to implement the Kamishibai. And we concluded our meeting with an action plan, which says what to do when. Next slide, please. And after that, we started to create. We started the creative process. And from the beginning, the operators were in this process. We said, use the material which we already have, which means for the technical department, the working instructions, tasks to be done every week in controlling the equipment and the machines were printed out every week and handed over to the operators. So it was very easy. We printed out those cards 2 times, the back and the front. We gave it some color and we laminated them. And then we got our DNA for Kamishibai cards. Of course, you can also use another format, but it was the most easy start. And then we started to create it, to create the control board. We made different concepts, different materials. As you can see, we experimented to get the right slots. Next slide, please. And at the end, you see the result at the right. It was the final Kamishibai board for the technical department. The photo on the left from that is another Kamishibai board from the next department. They used the example of the technical department, which is also very interesting, as the operators were in the creative process from the beginning. They transferred these knowledge to their colleagues of the other department. Next slide, please. And then we got really in the flow, because another 2 departments hooked on, and also the creative process went on. As they said, we want to personalize the Kamishibai cards. We want to put names on it from the different operators. And I said, okay, it's not what I would choose, but experiment with it. So that's also what I told them. The only boundary for a Kamishibai system implementation is your own imagination. It's important that every standard is in it, so the whole standardized work of your factory is controlled. And the first results are very exciting, as more and more people who see this say, wow, this really brings us a step further. The people from the technical department say, we did our tasks, but now we can see actually what we are doing, what our colleagues are doing, how far we are when something's wrong. It's easy to see in the countermeasure sheet what has been documented. You can find it also on the map below it, where this situation is. So it's very promising. And also in the next weeks, we will implement further Kamishibai focused on safety, but also on the standards discovered during 5S sessions, because during discussions, during those sessions, most of the standards and which are discussed are not followed up. They are just followed up for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it's lost again. But this system makes it possible to control also the new standards. So they are very excited, and they want to go on with it. So it's very promising. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Can I add something real quick?
Yes,
Yeah,
please,
sure.
of course.
First of all, thanks for sharing those real examples of what you did on the shop floor. And something I think that for all the listeners that are out there that was very critical that I did not talk about, but you definitely demonstrated with your pictures, is a map of the area. Where am I going to check number 6 at? Where I'm going to check number 8 at, right? So that map of where things are at are very, very important. So thanks for bringing that up. That was fantastic.
Good. All right, thank you. So this was the 20 minutes flow of DJ and Boudewijn, a lot of information. We can stop the presentation now so that we can see everybody. I would like to ask to switch on your microphone now and your video, of course, and please raise your electronic hand. Bas, please. Bas?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I want to share an experience, and I have a question about that as well.
Okay, please. Nice.
I don't work in a production environment. I work in a warehouse. So the daily job for our employees is to pick the orders. I have a small department. Only 4 people work there on a daily basis. And of that 4 people are always 2 temporary workers. So every day there are different 2 people who work at my department. And well, we had an issue a time ago that one people always said, I have to empty the bins with the garbage. No one else is doing that. So yeah, what I did, I made yeah, some kind of schedule for over the week, which some daily things that has to be done, and then someone appointed to it to do that thing in that week. But with yeah, the changing temporary workers every day, some of that daily chores are not done, and I yeah, it's a bit hard to make a schedule every day. I wanted something to go automatically, that all the people can see, okay, this has to be done this day. So the carting might work for us. But when you have different people every day, maybe there will be the same thing again, that the same people will do the daily task and the others won't, and you have that discussion again. So maybe you have some advice for me on that topic.
Yeah, great question. Who takes it, DJ?
Yeah, so first of all, yeah, absolutely, a warehouse picking process. You want to make sure that they're picking it in the right times, they're going through the right flow, right? So those are things that you could organize around how you would check on it. But to go towards maybe some of the activities you want to be done, I have had companies in the past use Kamishibai as activities. In other words, build the card, nobody knows who's going to get it today, but one of them is emptying the bins, as an example, right? So then every day, everybody gets a card, and all of a sudden, one card happens to be emptying the bins. You know that person's task is to do that. The other ones are looking at a process. This one particularly is making them do the process, yeah? So it's definitely something that's feasible to do and gets everybody involved. I will tell you what's very interesting is the creativeness around it. And Baldwin sort of alluded to that earlier. Is it's unlimited. It's basically your imagination. You can use it any way you want to. I've had companies use Kamishibai as a nice little spin wheel. You spin the wheel and it lands on a color and a name, and guess what? That's what you're doing. So apply it any way you'd like to help you get to the end state that you need. Yeah. And in this particular case is emptying the bins. Yeah.
Yeah. And also with the client, I was implementing their system, of course, the Kamishibai system. They also had a problem with emptying the paper bins, and some of the people were sick for a longer time. And then you got a situation which was not so very healthy for the factory operators. So that's why we're going to design also a kind of a system. As the manager says, I don't know in detail what they have to do, but if we make a template of it and we put it into those cards, then we solve also this problem.
Excellent. So the paper bins is a general problem.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do something about it, but everybody has problems with it, right?
Exactly.
That's
One of the basics.
Yeah,
Like
right.
it's like emptying the dishwasher machine.
Yeah, exactly. After dinner, everybody's gone. Sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So
The system can bring on the discipline on it. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the advice would be to have, well, for me to pick out someone to do that job, but some random thing that they can pick it out themselves.
Point taken. Yes, that's the advice. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, boss.
And just think about it this way also, boss. Nobody's being picked on. Nobody knows, right? So they're doing you get a brand new employee, they're going to be able to check a process, and they're going to be able to empty bins too. It's pretty clear and explained and exactly how to be done. So it's a great training tool.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.
We see a next hand, Gergana, if I pronounce it correctly.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. First of all, thank you really very well explained in a simple and pragmatic way. Appreciate the sketch and appreciate the pictures from the implementation. Really, thank you. So my question is, because my background is 20 years industry experience in food sector, quality and food safety. And usually I work in an environment which has a lot of standards already implemented and audits already in place with a lot of paper documents and some of the forms electronically already implemented. What would be your advice for implementation of Kamishibai? What are the minimum elements, and can this system be integrated in an easy way, not creating big tension and finally resulting in appreciation by the customer? What's your experience? Thank you.
I'd like to chime in on this if you don't mind. First of all, food safety already has the standards, like you said, right? So we know that in food safety management, it's very important to make sure that contamination does not occur, right? So there are very distinct places that food has to travel, has to be stored in certain ways. So Kamishibai is really looking at that kind of detail. It's just helping you do your standard. And when it's not, then you know that you need to improve that. You need to put more emphasis around it. So these cards, like I said, they don't stay for a lifetime. They're only there for 30 to 60 days because that's something new that you're implementing. So in regards to the standards that are already in place, the Kamishibai is just helping you do that standard. That's all it's doing. Yeah. So my thing would be, first of all, how it's cleaning the vats or whatever you have, making sure that's done right. Storing of the product, whatever food you're making, yogurt, sodas, doesn't matter. Is it being done right? That would be another card, right? So each one is just looking at very distinct areas that you think would be points of contamination. That's the whole point. Is that will help you avoid the things that typically we come across in food processing plants. Yeah. So that's how I would apply it. And I honestly worked with a Spanish supermarket, big chain in Portugal and Spain, and they used it for making the breads. They used it for cutting the meats. They used it for every little thing that had happened in the supermarket, from creating their nice little train to replenish everything and to retrieve things that are old. So it's used to make sure it's being done right. So it's very easy to be applied. And I can share that with you one-on-one later. Yeah.
If I may add something to it, more in general, when somebody already has systems, that's the story, of course, I hear also all the time, then mostly what I see is we are talking about a lot of paperwork, and it's hidden from the people. And Kamishibai is visual, and it's for the people and from the people. So it's very easy to see when something's going on. Then you see a red card. Everybody can see. You can read the countermeasure sheet. So it's very easy also to transform existing systems into Kamishibai. And you can do both. So people can experience themselves, and you can experiment with it. Also, my advice is to start with little baby steps in a sub circle of the factory with a tiny group of people. If their experience is good and you train them well, it will expand by itself. So that's what I also wanted to add.
Yeah, and I think you sharing that is critical for everybody in the audience here too, because if you think about the movie Karate Kid, where he's teaching the guy wax on, wax off, right? But that's a true thing that happens in Toyota. They touch things in a certain way, and then they retouch it in another way. And there's value in creating something for the customer in that to ensure that it's done right. And so seeing people wax on and wax off is very, very important. And if you don't get to see that, if you see somebody smearing it like this, then it's going to create something else, right? So in food processing, it's the same way. You've got all these standards. You're just ensuring that it's being done that way and then being done this way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for raising the question. Thank you, Gagana. Wilco, please.
Good morning. With the Kamishibai, is it possible to implement it in the 5S in sustainability for that process? And how long does the red card stay? And do you evaluate it daily for fixing that problem, then it not staying too long in staying red? Is there a timeline that you create and discuss it in daily meetings of what went wrong and how to make it better?
Great question, Wilco. Yeah, you want to take this, Bowden, first?
Yeah, I just want to say something short about it, because you can, looking at 5S, of course, you can use the implementation of Kamishibai at different levels. How we are going to do it in a few weeks at my client side is that we will implement the discovered new standards in the 5S sessions into the Kamishibai implementation, which means, for example, we had a 5S session at a factory and they said those tubings 20 millimeter, they don't belong here on the shop floor. And then one said, yeah, but that's an agreement. We don't do that. Oh, and but it happens all the time. So I suggested, why not making this standard visible in Kamishibai? And there are a lot of standards using in this way in 5S. Of course, if you see something not right, you can put it on a countermeasure sheet and then bring it up next day or as soon as possible at a day start or another meeting. Not do this. Remember it, people, first. So remember, wear your PPE. Don't leave those 22 millimeter tubings at the shop floor and other standards. So that's what I would advise. Maybe you can add something, DJ?
Yeah, so first of all, Wilco, I think your question really hits to the core of the implementation of TPS anyways. You have to be good at a system, and in that system, 3 to 5S is very important to have, yeah? So undoubtedly, when you start to implement, your S's, whether you're doing one at a time or you're doing all 5 at one time, there's going to be things that don't work right. And those are the things that you make a Kamishibai card on. For example, let's say that the pipe that Bowden was making reference to always gets placed on. You know it's an issue, make a card on it. Let's not have, the only check is there's a pipe there or not, Now, to your second part of your question, how long should this be? Well, until the behavior aligns to the result. That's the truth. And usually that's 30 to 60 days. And then that card can be pulled. It doesn't get thrown away. It gets put into a reserve box, because if it ever comes back again, you pull the card back out and you reapply it. Audits on implementation of your 5S program should be occurring on a daily, if not a daily, a weekly basis. So you can build a Kamishibai card to ensure that the audits are occurring, to making sure that things are getting returned, like in 2S. You've labeled everything. You said, here's a place for everything. Is it getting back to its place? If it isn't, make a card for that. Absolutely. I think it's perfectly designed for things of that nature. So yes, timeline, it's until behaviors change. And can it be applied? Absolutely. And it can be applied to each one of the S's, each one of the core cleaning activities, like 3S. Are they doing it the way it's designed to be cleaned? And so on. Okay. Hope I helped you.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Oh, I forgot one thing.
Yes, please.
We'll get back. you know, you have the red tag area, right? Wilco, you have a red tag area. So when you start cleaning things out and goes into the red tag zone on 1S, that's also something that you can apply your Kamishibai card on. Is the red tag zone being recycled or trashed correctly, being managed correctly? Yeah, because everything that goes in there shouldn't stay there forever. It should stay there for about 2 weeks. And then you got to decide what you're going to do. Is it something I write off? Is it something I recycle, use somewhere else inside the plant or inside the system that you're at? So it can easily be applied in the red tag zone as well.
Yeah,
Good.
thanks for the tip.
You got it.
Eric.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for this nice introduction of Kamishibai for me. I did a little in my own company, but the one thing what I have a lot of problems, how you say that, is to involve the team lead and the area manager. How that is what I now a little bit confusing about. What is the best? You call it baby steps before in another area. And I said, maybe, is there something to involve them with their own Kamishibai cards? And how do you do that? And when do you change something in their cards to get the things done on the Gemba?
Can you enlighten a little bit what you are encountered with? What is the behavior of the team leads? What is your experience?
Now, the team lead is, there are a lot of things they are doing, and the behavior is a little bit, okay, it is a good, nice, and we are doing it, but it will deteriorate. It will be not doing any. After 3 days, they said, I have a lot of problems. I have no time anymore. That's what I'm a little bit. Yeah.
DJ?
Yeah, so let's agree, first of all, that the principle in TPS is no involvement, no commitment. So if you're not getting them involved in the creation of these cards and the way the system is going to be used, then there's probably not going to be a high level of commitment for it. So that's very, very important from the get-go. Now, how have I gotten people in large organizations? I've worked with, for example, I would go into China for Philips or in Malaysia or Indonesia and walk into a plant and then, say, listen, we should build a communication cell, and on that communication cell, we should have some Kamishibai audits, right?
Yeah.
And how do I get people involved with that? First of all, area managers need to realize that their job is to resolve things for team leaders. That's their job. And they're not there to audit the team leader's performance of the process. They're there to audit the system that they're working in. It's a little higher level. So how I've done that is I've gotten the leadership. Usually they have a daily meeting, right? And in that daily meeting, I explain what a Kamishibai is. I help them create what they think they need to audit. And then as the team leaders start finding things, that gets elevated into their Kamishibai, because now they're going to help the team leaders see it. And they're going to say, oh, now I've seen. They're always triple stacking this particular food, and it can only be double stacked. It can never be triple stacked because it'll squish, right? And so that's something that we put a card around and say it's only double stacked, not triple stacked. And you're going there to check on those. As far as how I got them involved, I changed their daily meetings, not from the mornings and at the end of the shift. I started to have that just before lunch. 15 minutes before their lunchtime, they would all come together. They would all have their stand-up meeting, and then there would be a spin wheel, and they'd pick a card, and that's what that person would go look for in the afternoon after they'd done their lunch. And so you're really getting people involved at the shop floor and the creation of it, and then the engagement of it in a different way. Yeah. So at the moment I walk into a company and I see that they have meetings where it lasts an hour, is the moment that I leave in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I walk right out of that meeting and say, listen, you're wasting time. Yeah. Nobody in here is creating any value. Let's go create value. Yeah. And then we start creating very visual things so people don't have to be frustrated. It just becomes part of their daily enjoyment activity of going out and doing something. Yeah. Because that's what people really want to do. They don't want to be stuck in a cell. They don't want to be stuck in an office. They want to be out doing stuff. And this is a great way to get them involved. Yeah. But again, no involvement, no commitment. Critical.
Okay, sure. If I can add something to that, DJ, thank you. When you make people aware, they can create something that's what DJ also refers.
Mhm.
Then they want to be part of it, and that's what I experience, and that's what I mean with baby steps. This time I looked very careful. What's the best team to start with? Who are the most curious people? And then we start over there because that's low-hanging fruit. That's easy. And then when they are fruitful and when they are making things happen, their colleagues also see it and they want to have that success. So they're hooked up as well. And that system works particularly in this situation also very, very good. And of course, the leadership is step one.
Yeah.
And there's also needs to be a reward system. I agree with you on that too.
Yeah.
You need to be able to go out there and give people stuff so that they're excited about, wow, I achieved this. Something critical about Kamishibai though, folks. If you see it's always green, it's not working. Remember that. If it's always green, it's not working. It's supposed to be red. It's supposed to find things. It's supposed to make things better. Yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Wilco, you were first.
Yeah, I have a question. Can you also fit the Kamishibai into a problem-solving system? Does it fit in?
Mhm.
Okay, you.
That's a very interesting question. And I would say I've never done it in the problem-solving activity, but I've always done it in the solution that was being implemented. So even though I follow the 8 steps, the practical problem solving is typically what I use. Some people use the 4D, the 8D, DMAIC, you name it, right? But I like to, the Kamishibai isn't about the problem solving activities. It's actually about the implementation of the solutions that you've come up with. It's working the way it's supposed to, and you're checking on that. So I would say yes and no, right?
Yeah,
So,
I was thinking we have I worked in the food industry, and you have a lot of production lines. Sometimes for the managers it's hard to control everything. You know, you have 10 or 12 production lines, but if
Yep.
and I was thinking if you have on every line a Kamishibai board that the operators can use and you put certain kind of problems that occur a lot. So if one manager walks by and the operator is using the Kamishibai board for I have this problem, I put it on red. So it's visualizing in a
That's
daily
good.
basis, so you can see well, he's have the same problem a lot, so it's always red. And then it's easier to see if there's a problem and you can solve it.
Right. So in that way, I totally agree. It can be used because you're looking at a process, and it's highlighting what is red. And if it keeps coming back red, now you go through your problem solving methodologies to change that, to find another solution, and then implement that, and you can have a card for that implementation. Absolutely. Fantastic.
If I may add something to that, I was thinking while you was talking. Of course, Kamishibai is about auditing. For example, you can use a Kamishibai system to audit the Kamishibai system by itself. But as you are doing that, you can also use Kamishibai, for example, to audit your problem-solving techniques. For example, at one of my clients, I said they were not very good in doing root cause analysis, and we made an appointment. We do at least 2 root cause analysis a day, just to discover the root causes, of course, but also to educate people how to do it, and everybody has to join in. So I can imagine that if you have a goal like that, you can implement it as well in your Kamishibai system, but then as a control of your audit processes.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Gergana.
Just sorry for coming back again, but I wanted to hear more, to elaborate about example of rewards. You said that you can reward people. So some example of rewards, and do you reward them for giving a red card, or what exactly did you mean around this? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great question too, Gagana. I think what I was making reference to on rewards is when you're as what I think it was Wilco or Boss that brought this up, implementing 5S, right? The reward is that the audit is constantly happening. That means the place is working the way it's designed. At some point in time, 30 days down the road, you should give them a, let's say go to lunch meal, something of that nature. Some kind of reward that's tangible. They feel it. They're like, wow, thank you. It's not just about recognizing, for example, putting somebody's picture up saying they're the best score. This team had the best 5S. That's not enough of a reward. It has to be personalized. It has to be meaningful. So in certain companies, I got with the leadership team and we split the entire factory into 4 zones. And the leadership team, 2 people were per each zone. They would take the best, whoever's doing the best with the Kamishibai audits to lunch, and that would be the team leader's responsibility. It's not something that the company gives. It's something that they decided we're going to have lunch together in our private area, right? So simple things of that nature you can do. I have also seen where Japanese companies, they've actually given out coupons. You can go to 7-Eleven or you can go to some fast food restaurant with these coupons, right? So you can work out some really creative reward recognition type of systems for holding the standards, for maintaining the standards. Yeah. I do know that other companies that I've visited, when it comes to things like Kaizens and the ideas, they give money for ideas. It was a big idea that it was impactful. 10% of whatever their savings goes to that area of the factory that came up with that idea. So they get to spend it any way they want to. So it's just a way that you can be as creative as you'd like in the rewards and recognition system. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or examples or remarks? If not, then I might raise a question to those experts here online, DJ and Boudewijn. I was interested in what Eric said about the leaders who are rushing and are busy, etc. If you want to have a proper Kamishibai, then the operators need to have attention to what they're looking at. If they are also rushed and are running by and look half and say, oh, it's all right, and they go on and put it in the green and go on, then nothing will change and nothing will be in control. So how do you reflect on that? How do you get the attention of the operators to have them interest in doing the things right and to make their environment good and beautiful and good to work at? They need training, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're asking a really good question there. What I would say is, from my experience, I've always gotten with a team leader and I've always asked them this question: what's difficult about your job? What's tedious about your job? What gets you dirty? What gets you frustrated at your job? Yeah, something of that nature highlights an issue. And then you get them involved in, especially when you create your communication cell or the moment that you're going to Gemba to look at their area. Yeah, you get them involved from the get-go. And then they start opening up. At first they won't. First it'll be very hard. It'll be like trying to pull teeth, right? But eventually they will test you. They will bring something up that needs addressing. And if you don't address it, you've lost them. But as soon as you do, the moment that you take action on it, you've got them. Hook, line, and sinker. And I think me and Boudewijn, we saw that firsthand when we were working in the Netherlands with the MG group and making a cell. They were all like, we can't do this. No, the engineer said we can't do that. Who? So we took them right to that engineer and they were like, no, you can change anything you want. And then once they did, they were like, wow, okay, we finally, because I hated that, but they just, you got to get them involved and you got to show them that you're caring for them and you want to make it simpler easier, and safer. Simple as that. Yeah.
Exactly. And I also want to add to that, DJ, that as a team lead, you have to be interested in your co-workers and your operators and your colleagues. But then, and I just not mean interested, but I mean really interesting from the heart. And the questions DJ asked or said you can ask, you have to ask them from the heart. So take time. For example, if an operator does the Kamishibai for the first time, pulls a card, then I mostly join in asking in the questions or the tasks which are on the card, and I just look with them, and I take the team lead with me as I'm mostly I'm in consulting way out there, and then you see the eyes goes wide open, and like, oh wow, he's investing time. And then when somebody starts to blossom, then the next will be more easy, and so on. So that's what I would like to add.
Thank you.
Yeah, always do it together. Absolutely. Start doing it together. Never require it of one person to go and do. Just start doing it as a collective team. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which raises another interesting question. If nobody else has a question, please come with your questions if you like. What's interesting about the presentations of you both, I did not hear about the quality management department, the inspection department, the compliance department, the whatever department that we have in the organization. Where are they in this whole story?
It's about getting your people involved, right? So if I'm a group leader or an area manager, supervisor, department leader, whatever you like to call it, and I have 5 to 10 people underneath me, I want to get them all involved. And this is the way to get them involved. It can help you train them by taking them, doing it with them. Yeah. It could also be something that gets them, you know, some level of responsibility that they would like to take on, so that you can see you can grow these leaders. It's all designed to get them more engaged. Yeah, that's what it's really all about. So it's not about getting the auditors involved in the audits, right? It's about us really looking into how to make things easier for the people that we work with. Yeah, and to ensure that we're getting to the right level of capability, you know, that we are creating the value that the customer is willing to pay for. Yeah, and that's so important. I would say if your level of education is not, let's say, out of 2nd, 3rd grade, Kamishibai still works because it's very visual, it's very impactful to people. But then you got to use different kinds of symbols and different kinds of pictures, vice the wordings, right? So this is very, very important too. So I actually worked in a plant in Indonesia where, you know, the person was illiterate. They couldn't read or write. They couldn't even write their name. But Kamishibai worked. Why? Because we made it visual for that person. And then that person just blossomed, like you said. You know, they shine and they're like, wow, I accomplished this. And, you know, over a 6 or 7 month period, that individual then now knew how to write at least their name. They knew exactly what to look for in the processes, what made good quality. Yeah, what did keep everybody safe. And I think now today she's like the assistant plant manager. So it does help people grow. It does help your capability get better.
Sure, and if I can add something to that, also, of course, in your question, Jeroen, is also the answer, as quality, of course, is belonging to the operation. If you do something at a shop floor, if you make some product, you as a maker of the product are also responsibility for the quality. And when I'm implementing something new, like a Kamishibai system, I always am very interested in what's your experience with this new system. Can you tell me about it? Do we have to adjust it so you can work better with it? And mostly I hear about Kamishibai is, oh wow, now we can control our systems. Now we can understand. It's very easy. It's visible. It's now we know, and we don't need to read the ISO 9001. We only need to follow the cards. The cards is telling the story, so that's why people become so enthusiastic about it.
Exactly, yeah.
And I would say, when you're thinking about quality departments, they're typically about quality control, whereas Kamishibai is more about quality assurance, right?
Exactly.
That they're doing it the way that it's designed. Yeah. So that, it works both ways. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Dear audience, who has another question or another remark or an example? Yes, Peter, please.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Hey, everyone. Well, thanks for the presentation. I've been joining recently. It's very interesting. So I've been asked to implement a card by higher ups and people from my.
Sorry, Peter, can you repeat it? We cannot hear you.
I've been asked to implement a card by higher ups and by people from around me. But I have refrained from using it and implementing it until I knew exactly how. It is to check if everyone is up to speed on how to make certain samples, because communication is often very bad. DJ, you talked about using this card as a way to not look at a person, but look at a process.
Right.
But this card pretty much tells someone to do their job. How could I implement it in a way that it isn't, breathing down their neck, or how do I not offend them?
Yeah, I think a great question you're asking, Peter. First of all, can I ask you a question before I share my insight? Do you happen to have communication cells where you work?
We do. Okay. We've been trying and we've been using it. Somehow
is it based on QDC? Is it just quality, delivery, cost type of metrics?
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that myself and my partners in Patagonia that we do is we create communication cells under people, performance, and continuous improvement. And so under the people side is we're trying to educate, we're trying to share insights, we're trying to give them different jobs. So nobody wants to do the same job 8 hours a day. You should have several different types of jobs. So it's about rotating, building the capability. Yeah. Then under the performance side, that's where we track what's important for that area under quality, delivery, and cost. Yeah. Could be some safety things. It could be, you name it. But it's about making sure that we're doing it the right way. And so if you're in production, you're going to have a production board. Tells you if you're meeting the demand, if you're ahead or behind, right? So that's a performance thing. But then under continuous improvement, that's where you're trying to get ideas. And that's where the 3C and the Kamishibai resides. Yeah, the 3C board is concerns, causes, and countermeasures that you're going to do about those concerns. And so the Kamishibai allows you to highlight what's happening in the performance and with the people. Yeah. So that's how it truly gets everyone involved. And you can easily do it in your morning meetings and say, you know what, I'm going to go on a Genshi Genbetsu for this Kamishibai, and I pick a card, and Joe, why don't you follow me today, and get them to see what you're looking at, so that they know that you're not looking at the person, you're looking at the value that they're trying to create, the thing that they're doing, whether it's moving boxes or making plates or painting something, or they're inspecting something. You can tell them, this is what I'm looking for. Yeah. And then you create it together, because I typically ask them afterwards, so how can we make this even better? Because I didn't really get a lot of enjoyment out of this. So what else can we do to give it more life? Yeah. And they'll come up with the ideas. They'll get involved.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Peter?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's
and of course, it highlights the creative process again, because make it the process of your colleagues. It will drive itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
We go to the next speaker, Marjolein.
Yeah.
Hello, good
hi.
morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you. So very interesting because I'm working at a hospital in the Netherlands. We work at a core facility, so we have all kinds of instruments that researchers use for their research. So we're not really an industry or a big company, but we're a small company within the hospital. And what we do is we try to maintain and the instruments and make sure that all the data that is coming out is every time similar and the same and reliable. But yeah, so we're trying to implement different processes. But what we do now is that things that aren't working, we write an SOP. We don't want to write all these SOPs. So I think the cards are a great idea. I didn't know that it existed. So it's wanted to thank you. So we're gonna try this and see how it
Absolutely.
works. Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I'm glad that you brought that up because I've actually implemented this in a lot of hospitals.
Okay.
So yeah, so surgical optimization, you know, sterilization process. You want to make sure that that happens right. Replenishment of all the different components that you need for the operating room, how the operating room is being cleaned. Anything that happens, you can create this kind of visual system that allows you to make sure it's being done right. And when it's not, boom, instantly it's visual. It tells you it's red. Oh, we got to do something. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
So fantastic.
Yeah.
And you got the ownership, Marjolein. I know your situation. You got the ownership with the analysts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So strong, powerful instrument. Okay. Who's next? Who wants to share more? Any other question? Any contribution?
So maybe I can bring something out that would create some value for the listeners as well. So Kamishibai and 1-point lessons can actually go hand in hand. Yeah, you can have a Kamishibai card that is actually a 1-point lesson on how to do something, and you want to make sure that people are doing it that way. You know, so one of those supermarkets. I don't think I have the capability to share.
You can share if you want.
Okay, let me just open this up real quick.
He's joining as well.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
So let me share real quick and then
go ahead.
Yep, okay. Boom. Boom. And shaboom. But this is just a great example, you know. Make this big so everybody can see it better.
Yes. Yeah, we see it.
Okay. Yeah. So these 1-point lessons are, you know, a way to actually use Kamishibai as well. It doesn't have to be, you know, something that you just read, right? So here's one on cleaning stuff. Here's one on washing your hands, right? So it's all sorts of different ways you can be creative in applying, you know, Kamishibai and 1-point lessons, connecting them. Yeah. I actually helped them create one about how to get a tie on, put a tie on, you know, so to make sure everybody's doing it. My point is, be as creative as you would like. It will definitely help you in what you're trying to achieve, which is get things to be generated consistently the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Like
anybody else? Anybody else? Eric.
Eric, there we go.
Yeah, I have a question about the number of sentences on one card. Do you start with 5 or do you start with 1 to introduce them, and then later on when it is working, then you put another sentence on it and then another one? And that's one question. And the other question is, do you always in kind of time blocks? When you do for one shift, for example, in production, you said you have to do this between 8 and 10. And you have to do this card between 10 and 12 or something like that. Yeah.
I think that's a great question. Thanks for asking it, because I don't know if I shared that in the amount of detail that was in our short presentation. But the truth is, yes, you should have cards for like morning and afternoon or 8 to 10, something like that. Okay. But each card should be about one topic and one topic only. So it should be around quality, one card, one around safety, one around the, let's say PPE, one around, the equipment startup or utilization, right? You want to make sure it's being done the right way. One way to clean something, right? Okay. So you should have one card with several things, and it's unlimited the number of stuff that you can put on it. But it's about problems that you have. Remember the reason why you're looking at the process is because it's not consistently being done correctly. It's creating issues for you. Yeah, whether you've got drippings of something, or whether you have somebody's not screwing in the screws correctly. There's always a reason for what you're looking at. Yeah. And so I would do it in times. So like I said, for the management staff, it was, you're going to do your lunch at 12:30. So we're having our meeting at 12:15. So we don't last too much time in meetings. And then at the end of that meeting, somebody gets a card, and that's what they're going to go look at. Yeah. And when it's on the shop floor, it's always around the issues that you have around QDC. Yeah. So that you can make it even better. Yeah. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you, DJ. Good, very nice answer. What I want to add to that is that, for example, if an operator takes a card at the beginning of the shift, it has to be done at the end of the shift. Mostly, they put it in their pocket of their trousers, and they are going to work. And during the work, they do the Kamishibai. That's how it works mostly. But at the end of the shift, they might forget to put the card back in the slot with the right side to the front, the green or the red, and they even might take it home. So that's why I always number the cards. So, for example, if you have 5 days a week, shift ABC, then I say A1 from 5 or A2 from 5. Then I know exactly. For example, if you have numbers 1 to 5 and I missed a 3, then I know at Wednesday something went wrong in shift A, B, or C. So that's also control of the Kamishibai cards itself.
Okay, thank you.
And by the way, the Kamishibais are sitting in a box. The only time they get put into the board is when they've been done. Yeah, exactly. You've actually seen the process.
That's true. Of course. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, at the end of your shift, at the end of the shift,
it should be a complete visual.
Yeah.
Yep. Totally comes out. Yep.
Okay.
Good.
It's really great that you share this example, because as a quality people are controlling also a foreign matter risk, and the usage of cards for Kamishibai can be seen as a risk for the food. So appreciate for giving this great example for numbering and how you control the card, different than counting only. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Who's next?
Just so you know, my next Kamishibai card is going to be to empty the bins.
Definitely. Involving the whole family, everybody. That's right. This is kind of don't try this at home situation.
Peter,
please.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I am logging on a little bit to the discussion that Eric was also talking about commitment. We have a production area with 2 shift leaders, and with 1 shift leader is fully committed, and let's say the commitment of the 2nd shift leader is next to 0. So I'm struggling a little bit to get the shift leader that has, let's say, shown no commitment, to get him on board, because with a shift leader there is a team connected, so he spreads his, let's say, negative commitment also to the team members in his. So what would be an opening to start the discussion with him?
So you have one that's, I just want to get this right in my head. You have one shift leader that's fully committed, willing to do it all, and the other one that's very limited, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So is it because the person that's doing is it the later shift or the early shift? Which one is it?
The later shift.
The later shift. That's right. So they feel when the boss is away, the mouse can play, right? So
exactly.
Right. So first thing I would do is put these two together and have them go do audits of their areas. That's the first thing I would do. Yeah.
Oh.
So bring them together and say, listen, you're going to come in 15 minutes early to go help audit shift one. And then the other guy is going to come in 15 minutes early or stay 15 minutes later and help audit yours, just to get them going, get the ball rolling. Yeah. And you should be there as well.
Yeah.
You should show that level of commitment. We need to do this. We're having these issues. This is what we're looking at, right?
Okay.
So that's and then the second thing is, you know, the Kamishibai system has that 3C component. Yeah, that sheet. So when anything gets put on there, that second shift leader is going to be testing you. So you have to be, that's why the fidelity and discipline of executing and resolving something for them is what they're going to test you on. So you need to know when it's red and it gets escalated to you, you solve it. You do something about it.
Okay.
And then by the way, if he's not doing it on shift 2, put him on shift 1 where it is happening, so he can see how it's all working. Put shift 1 leader on shift 2, just for a short period, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Clear.
You got it. Great question, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the contribution, Peter. Next one, please. Any other?
Yeah, about 10 minutes left, so
Yeah, with time.
yeah, we're doing well.
It's good to start your workday with these kind of sessions. A lot of inspiration that you can implement right after the session.
Yeah, and what I also hear a lot of, it's returning now 2-3 times. Kamishibai is about promising. It promises you a better system. So it's also about, of course, it's about OPLs, but it's also about leadership, and also about making your promises come true. So also referring to the last question, also the C-suite or the directors or the operation managers, they also are in it. If something is escalated or even is becoming visible, it has to be resolved, and it cannot be there for 2 or 3 weeks, for example. It has to be resolved within very limited time. And if you make your promises come true, people will start to believe. And it's also referring to the questions DJ asked people. What are the things you're stumbling about? What are the things you don't like, and so on? The things you become dirty from. So that's also about Kamishibai, of course.
So basically, you reflect on the Gemba walk. So the manager should be on the shop floor to see if the Kamishibai works, if people are doing the right thing. Yes,
sure. And of course, in Lean, nothing is in isolation. So we talked about Gemba walks, and now we are talking about Kamishibai, but it's not two isolated systems. It's communicating with each other, and it's.
And that's why I think you make a great point there, Baldwin, because that's one of the reasons why I asked the other Peter about, do they have communication cells? Because once you put it on there, they're concerned. That's what you put on there. You don't actually do the cause or the countermeasure. You just put the concern because something wasn't done right. Yeah. Exactly. The process wasn't followed through correctly. But once it's on that sheet of paper, that's 1 week. That paper is only there for 1 week. If it's not resolved in that week, it gets escalated to the next communication cell up, and then they have to resolve it. So that's why it's about getting the full level of commitment at all levels engaged with Kamishibai. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We have 10 minutes left. However, if there are no more questions, DJ, is it an idea to talk a little bit about the Japan tour? Is that an idea?
Yeah. I mean, we're trying to do another tour in April of next year, but we've got a tour scheduled right now in the end of September here, the week 24 through 30. So everything is organized. I leave tonight on a plane to get back to Japan so that I can do some work tomorrow and making sure that the logistics is all aligned. But we've got 6 different companies we're going to go visit. It's going to be a great week of understanding the culture and the mindset and the leadership capabilities of implementing TPS. And I got to tell you, if you've never been on one of these tours, I encourage you to. Doesn't have to be my tour, but I encourage that you do go on a tour. You go see other companies that are really doing lean the right way, or applying the principles of TPS the right way, so that you can take your level of knowledge to the next level, if you may. Yeah. And for those that are here today, I thank you very much for all the time that you've given me and my team partners over there in Patagonia to hear what we have to say. And we look forward to doing this again in October. Yeah.
All invited. You will receive the link, and you will get notifications via email or LinkedIn. And regarding the tour to Japan, that will be then the next one is September, and then in April. So read our website, because the updates are on our website. So if you have the idea of, I want to go to Japan and I like that, we have brochures and information on the website to get you informed if you feel excited to join that tour as well.
And the back of the bus talks are wonderful, because it gets really personalized in what you do. And it doesn't matter if you're working in healthcare, or if you're working in casinos, or if you happen to be working logistics or manufacturing. All of the methodologies that you'll see, that you'll be inspired by, you'll create some questions that we call back of the bus moments. Yeah, where you sit in the back of the bus while you're traveling home or going to the next site. And that's truly a lot of value as well. You know, those insights that are shared in different ways. Yeah. Okay, cool. Great.
The 19th of October, we have the next Lean Unplugged. Till then, please go ahead with all the topics that we discussed today, but also last time with the Gemba walk and the communication cells. Critical Gemba core activities that needs to be in place to have smooth operations and involvement of your operators. And we continue with that. And if you need any training, if you need any help, please contact either DJ directly or us, and we will help you further. Good. So for that, Thank you, and have a good day.
Okay, thank you very much.